At that point, he was no longer holding Mr. Scott down. He had his taser in his right hand, and he used his left hand. Mr. Scott used his left hand and grabbed the butt end of the taser. He said that Mr. Slager said that he tried to pull it away. He said he was pulling away with his right arm and pushing with his left. As he was pulling away, he had tension on, Mr. Scott had tension on the barrel, and he said he was able to get the taser.
And what did he say happened after Mr. Scott had gained possession of the taser?
He said that after Scott jerked the taser out of his hand, he was looking right at the taser, and Mr. Scott then maneuvered the taser in his hand to point it directly at Mr. Slager.
And what did Mr. Slager indicate he was doing?
He said that he tried to push away somehow on Mr. Scott's body, that his hands were somewhere on his body. He didn't know where, but he tried to push away, and that Mr. Scott rotated his body to the left towards him.
And what did he say that Mr. Scott was doing with the taser?
He said that he was continually coming forward and with the taser, and Mr. Slager said that he believed he was trying to hit him with the taser.
And what did you understand him to mean by hit him with the taser?
Trying to use it against him.
Okay. And what did he say his goal was?
To get away from the taser. He said he was scared, he was fatigued. He again cited his adrenaline, his thoughts of who was coming, whether or not he was going to go home to his pregnant wife. He said that if Mr. Scott tased him, he could take his weapon from him. He said he thought he would take his weapon and shoot him. He is all these things are going through his mind, and at that point he got to his feet, and Mr. Scott got up on his feet. He said he was winded and tired and breathing heavy. He said that Mr. Scott had the taser pointed directly at him with his right hand, and he saw the barrel coming straight at him again. Some of this is repetitive.
Okay. And it's repetitive because why?
We just took it as he told us, and at times he would have to go back, and sometimes he would restate what he was going over.
And he said Mr. Scott was coming with the barrel straight at him, correct?
Correct.
With his arm extended out?
Yes, and he said, Mr. Slager said that he then went off to the left side and shuffle stepped to the left, like he had been trained to do. He pulled his gun and said that he fired. He said that Mr. Scott was turning as he was firing.